How's it going? We are, or at least we should be, live at this point. So if you are joining us on Facebook, if you would just leave me a comment letting me know that you are here, that you can see me, that audio is coming through good. If you're on YouTube, same thing, just drop a comment real quick in there, letting me know that you're able to see and hear everything that is going on. Super excited to be here today. I'm super excited to share with you today some of what I've been working on, some of the feedback I've gotten from some of the clients I've been working with, and kind of walk you through what I call the 2022 or your 2022 Facebook. We're not going to talk much about Facebook. We're going to talk about your 2022 marketing masterclass. I saw the Facebook logo up there and was making sure that it said we were live on Facebook. So sorry about that. We are using something that's relatively new to us. We're using StreamYard to broadcast. It's a tool that enables us to broadcast live between Facebook and YouTube and other channels as well. But right now we're just doing live to Facebook. We're also doing live to YouTube. So again, drop just a quick comment letting me know that the audio is coming through good, that the video is coming through good. And then let me know where you are joining from. Where are you joining us from? What city, what state are you tuning in from? I know we had people from kind of all over saying that they were going to attend. A few quick notes about the training today. So we're going to go right at an hour. My goal is to get to the end and open up for Q&A, but also if you've got questions along the way, go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer those as we move along. We are in this interesting time right now in business. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but we are coming out of this pandemic world that we've been in for the past 2 years or whatever. And what I observe so many entrepreneurs, so many business people doing is they're attempting to get things back to the way they were prior to the pandemic. They're trying to go back to the way things were. They're trying to go back to the strategies, to the marketing tactics, all these things that they were doing so well prior to the pandemic. And it's just not working too well for so many people. And the question is why? Why? What has changed? What is different today than it was just a couple of years ago? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about something that I think is so important that so many of us misunderstand or mess up on, and that is, what is the difference between a strategy, a marketing strategy, versus a marketing tactic? And then between those two, what is this thing called a framework? Where does the word framework come into play in the mix of these things? So that's what we're going to do today. So we've got a couple people saying comes in good. Hey, Clay, thanks for joining us. Brittany, thank you so much for joining us as well. Paula, thank you so much. So we got, looks like lots of Louisianians right now, except for Brittany. It looks like you're in Texas right now. So thank you all so much for being here, being a part of this. One thing about this particular training, I'm going to share with you what I know to be working right now. So at any point in time, we at Ugly Mug Marketing are working probably somewhere around 80 different clients, all different industries from all over the country. And so we have a very unique perspective in terms of what's working in marketing and what isn't. Because we don't really do long-term contracts with our clients. So they're free to leave at any point. They're free to go at any point that they don't feel that we're bringing results or the marketing efforts are getting results for them. And so from this perspective, from this unique perspective of working with so many different clients and so many different industries from literally around the country, we're able to pick up on patterns and trends. So what are the things that successful marketers are doing? What are the things that unsuccessful marketers are doing? And we're going to talk about all that today. But as it goes with any training, I can't get you to take things out of this training, right? I can't force you to walk away from this training different than you showed up right now. So my challenge for you on the other side of the screen right now is this. My challenge is that you would take this time seriously. Like if you're here for a reason. What is that reason? Why are you choosing to show up? Maybe you're just scrolling on Facebook or you're on YouTube and it popped up that we're live. And so you decide to drop in. That's cool. Like, glad you're here. But for those of you who showed up because you want to do something different, or because you're not happy with the results that you're getting, this time is for you, right? I'm going to pour information. I'm going to give you these frameworks, these tactics, these strategies that we know are working right now. I want to give those to you, but I can't force you to implement these things. I can't even force you to take the time to think about these things after our time's over. So I'm going to ask you to commit, not for me, like it won't make a difference to me, but for yourself, that you spend some time thinking through these things, working through. I'm going to give you some exercises to do once we're done. And I want you to spend time going through those things. So with all of that, I'll go ahead and jump in to what we're going to talk about today. Again, we are going to talk about the difference between strategies, between tactics. We're going to talk about what is a framework as it relates to your marketing. And then we're going to specifically talk about what should you be doing with your marketing right now. What should you be doing today in this post-pandemic world that we're in? How can you, for example, on Facebook, get more than likes, shares, and comments? How can you ensure that every dollar that you spend is bringing you back more than $1? All right. Any questions before we jump in? Not that you would have any at this point, but let's jump in. If you got questions, pop them in the chat and we're going to jump in. Okay. So we're going to go back to 1837. So we're going way back in time. For most of us, we can't even imagine what the world was like at that time. But in 1837, Andrew Jackson was the president. So a long time ago, 1837. We're coming up, I guess, not too far off. We will be 200 years from that. But in 1837, this gentleman right here was born. His name is William. William was born, and he was born into a family of affluence. His family had a very successful business. When he was just over 20 years old, he married this young lady. This was Sarah. And as the world was in that time, they were in the elite society. They had everything, right? They had multiple homes. They had, this business that was generating all kinds of revenue for them to fund the lifestyle that they wanted. But here's the interesting thing. Sarah actually has a marketing lesson for us today that is so important. It is so relevant to the world that we live in today, this world of uncertainty, this world where there's so many options with our marketing. So Sarah and William were married, but it wasn't too long after they were married that William passed away. And William's last name was Winchester. So some of you have probably heard of the Winchester rifle. If you've heard of that, just leave me a little comment or emoji there in the comments. So the Winchester rifle revolutionized the firearms that were used in the military back then. And so William's family business was extremely successful. When William passed away, he left his wife with about $20 million. So let me put that in perspective. You fast forward, convert that money from that time period, so 1881 to today's money, that would be about $500 million in money. And so $500 million in money is what Sarah's left with. And Sarah, over the course of a year, her husband died, her mother died, and right before that, her and William's only child had passed away. So it was a very tough time for Sarah. And so Sarah goes to a spiritualist. She goes to someone to speak to the dead and to find out what is going on in her life. She goes to this person, and this person tells her, Sarah, yes, you are actually being haunted by the ghost of the people the gun that your husband and his family created. You're being haunted by the ghosts of the people who've lost their lives to this gun. And Sarah was distraught. She's like, well, how do I end this? How do I end these hauntings? How do I end this craziness that's taking place in my life? How do I make it stop? And she was advised that she would need to move west. And when she got there, she would need to buy a house and she would need to remodel the house. And as long as she was remodeling the house, doing construction, active construction on the house, the ghost would stop haunting her. The ghost would leave her alone. And so over the next 37 years, construction continued around the clock on this house. This is what the house looks like. This is an aerial view of the house. Imagine 37 years straight around the clock having people work on this project. And why? What was the reason? Because she wanted the haunting to end. She wanted the ghost to leave her alone. She ended up building 24,000 square foot. It had 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors. You can see it's just crazy. But here's the interesting thing about Sarah and the house that she ended up building. You see, she had no plan. She just knew she had to continue the construction, but she didn't have an actual plan on what's the house going to look like? What am I after with the house? The only thing that she was after was continuing the construction. So this is an example. This is a window designed by Tiffany. So the famous jewelry store, Tiffany. This is a window or a stained glass window, but it's put in a wall that doesn't face the outside of the house. It's on an interior wall. So the light can't ever shine through that window. This is a stairwell that leads to, well, nowhere. It's just a stairwell that leads to a ceiling in another room. But Sarah knew that she had to continue this thing. And I don't know about you, but maybe you can relate to Sarah. You see, the world we live in today, this post-pandemic world, we feel the need as entrepreneurs, as business owners, to constantly be doing something as it relates to marketing, right? Can anybody relate to that? Can you relate to this feeling that you need to constantly be doing something when it comes to your marketing? If you can relate to that, let me know. Put it in the comments. I mean, some people, maybe you don't feel that way. Maybe you don't feel the need. Maybe your marketing's dialed in. But for most of us, I believe that there's this need to constantly be doing something. We feel this need to constantly be doing something with our marketing. But sadly, most of us don't have a clear picture of where we're going. Where is all this marketing leading? How are all these pieces and components going together, right? If we are building stairs, are they leading somewhere? If we're buying stained glass window for our marketing, right? I'm using that obviously as a made up thing here, but what is the purpose of that thing? So all too often in this world that we live in today, we're looking around, we're seeing all these amazing things. Oh, that's a beautiful stained glass window, or that's a beautiful marketing campaign. I need to be doing that. And so we copy it, we throw it into this thing that becomes our Winchester marketing system. It's a bunch of things going on, but we're building this awful thing, this thing that doesn't make sense. You with me? I mean, is that making sense to anybody out there? If you feel that, let me know that you feel that. Like you feel this sense of like, I got to be doing something. And I'm trying all these things, but I'm just not getting traction. So as we look forward and we look at the current situation that we're in, it's important that we understand what are the differences between tactics, strategies, and frameworks. Tactics, strategies, and frameworks. And this is so important because what I see happening is we look around and we see all these tactics, right? When we look around at our competitors or those in our industry, the thing that is visible to us isn't the strategy. It isn't the framework. The things that's visible are the tactics that they're using. So we can see the Facebook post, we can see the Instagram post, we can see the website, we can see the television, the radio, whatever it may be. We can see those things. All of those things are tactics. And so if we're not careful, we'll begin copying these tactics without understanding what is the strategy below that. And then more importantly, what is the actual framework that this is being built on? Yeah, I see several of you can feel this, like you're saying, yes, I agree, Paula, and Brittany and Richard, I see that. I get it. So what is the difference? So a framework would be like the railroad tracks. Your framework is determining where you are going, right? The framework is going to determine where you end up. So you have to, number one, be clear about where you're going with your marketing. What is the purpose of your marketing? Where is it designed to take you, your business, your organization? If you don't know where it's designed to take you or where you're attempting to get to, It doesn't matter what strategy you use. It doesn't matter what tactic you use. None of that's going to matter because the framework is aiming in the wrong direction. And so I personally see this. I see so many people, they have all these great ideas, all these marketing ideas, marketing campaigns. They're great at photography, or they're great with reels, or they're great with store, whatever. But their tracks, their framework is pointing in the wrong direction. So no matter what they do, they end up way off of their desired result. They end up way out in left field, if you will. So a framework would be the tracks, the purpose. Why are you heading in this direction? Where are you aiming towards? The strategy would be the actual train, the actual locomotive. So, you think about it, there's different types of trains, different type of locomotives. So there are ones that are designed for pulling heavy loads, like this one you see right here, right? Depending on where you're trying to go, you may need this particular type of strategy. Now, there's passenger trains. Those are different. They're made for different things. They're in Japan. There's bullet trains that are made for something completely different, right? So the strategy is the actual thing that is going to drive you there. And then the tactic would be the way you actually operate that train. That would be the way you operate the train. So step back for a second once you think about this. So number one, ask yourself this. Are you clear? And when I say clear, meaning, is it specifically written down where anyone could read it and understand it? Are you clear where your marketing is attempting to take you? Are you clear about that? That is step one, the framework. Step two then determines what type of locomotive, what type of train do we actually need on these tracks? And here's the interesting thing. Depending on where you are in your business, depending on what's taking place, depending on the season, you may have to actually change the train that is on those tracks. You may actually have to change the locomotive, if you will. And that is where we are today. We're in this world of uncertainty. We're in this world post-pandemic. We're in this world where the things that used to work are no longer working. The way we used to operate the train is no longer working. So what are we going to actually do about it? And that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to go over today. I'm going to give you the framework. I'm going to give you the framework that you should be following. I'm going to give you the strategies. And then within that, you as marketers, as entrepreneurs, you can figure out what are the actual tactics that I need to put in place. All right. So before we jump into it, let's get crystal clear about what is this thing we call marketing. What is marketing? Anybody out there have a good definition for the word marketing? Does anybody out there have a term or a phrase that you use when you define marketing? When you think about this thing called marketing, what is this thing that we call marketing? Anybody got a good answer for that? There's lots of great answers. There's not a right or wrong. I've seen lots of great definitions of marketing, and it's not like there's a right or wrong definition, but I want to help you get clear about what marketing should look like for you. So let's take a look real quick. So Morgan says, expression of your business is activity to attract your consumer. Great, that's a good answer. And Ernestine, am I saying that right? Ernestine, making your brand visible. That's great as well. Paula, education of your product. Show the customer what they need. Yeah, that's a great one. Lisa as well. Yeah, all great definitions. There's not a right or wrong definition when it comes to this. Brittany, I would say promoting yourself and your business, services, and products you offer. Yep, all of those are great. All of those are right. But again, I want to take us up a level. I want to take us back, kind of bigger picture, and I want us to think about it from this broad term. So marketing is simply your ability to attract and then to keep a customer, to attract and then to keep a customer. And these two words matter a lot. These two words matter a lot. So let me give you just one little thing that you can take right now. And then if you've got to leave, you got to drop out. This one little thing can actually transform your business. So if you are struggling right now to grow, if you're struggling to get traction with your business, You could be a solopreneur working on your own. You could have a team, whatever, it doesn't matter. Have each person, yourself included, answer this question every single day. What have I done to attract a customer today? And what have I done to keep a customer today? What have I done to attract a customer? What have I done to keep a customer? If you will just answer that question or those two questions every single day, hold yourself, hold your team accountable to those two questions, it will transform your marketing. Why? Why did those two simple questions transform your marketing? Number one, it keeps the most important thing, right? So when it comes to marketing, there are two important things, in my opinion. Number one is the attraction side, which is often like the advertising piece. What have we done to attract a new customer today? How have I been intentional in attracting a new customer? And then the second part, what have I done to keep a customer today? And we're going to talk a lot more about the keep portion of that in just a minute. This is the golden opportunity. In the world that we live in today, the keeping portion is what's going to separate, average marketers from exceptional marketers. Your ability to keep, and we're going to define that in more detail in a minute. Before we keep moving forward, I just want to mention at the end of this, I'm going to tell you how to I've got a bunch of free resources for you, PDF downloads that are going to walk you through all of this in detail. They're completely yours for free. I'm going to tell you at the end of this how to get access to those. We're going to send those over to you if you would like those. So stick around for that. That's going to be at the end of this. I'm going to give you access to those. So let's keep rolling forward. So what we're going to do now is we're going to dive into this thing called the natural progression. Anybody here familiar with the natural progression? Anybody already familiar with this? All right, not see anybody familiar. So that's either a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure. So I'm going to walk you through this thing called the natural progression. And here's what I promise you. If you begin following this progression, you begin following this framework, it will remove the complexity. It will remove the chaos. It will remove the confusion about what you should be doing with your marketing. That's one of the challenges, right? Can anybody relate to this? Like there's basically a new platform, social media platform born every day, right? There's a new thing that we as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as marketers should or could or need to be doing. How do we know what to do? How do we know which platform is worth our time? Do we do them all? Do we do one? Do we do none? How do we know? This framework is going to show you exactly how you know that. So let me switch back to this so we can see. All right, you should be able to see this fancy piece of paper here. It's a magic piece of paper. So most of you, it looks like, have not heard of it. So that's good. So let me walk you through it real quick. If you're taking notes, grab something to write this down and kind of chart this out with me. Let's see. Yeah, you can see most of that, I think. Okay. So when we think about marketing, oftentimes we think about this one portion of marketing, which is advertising. We think about attracting, right? We think about we need to get new customers. But what we're going to discover through this framework is that is only one small component. And within that component of attracting new customers, there's actually a couple of steps that we need to be looking at. So at the very top, you're going to put the word stranger. Stranger. So strangers are everyone in this world who you believe would be a good fit for your product or service, but they don't know about you or your product or service yet. So a stranger, anyone in the world who you feel would be a good fit for your product or service, but they just don't know about you yet. Those are your strangers. All right, not to be confused with prospects. That's something different. Over here, we have friends. Strangers and friends. So friends are people who know about you and they like you at least a little bit, right? They're not going to be your friend if they don't like you a little bit. Now, what's required to move people from a stranger to a friend? Any guess? What's required? There's a certain element, or a couple of elements really, that are required to get people from not knowing about your product or service to knowing about it and liking you a little bit. And this is important because this becomes the first step when you think about your advertising or your marketing. This becomes the first step because when we understand that there's a lot of people out there who don't know about us, right? There's a lot of people out there who don't know about us, but we don't care about all of them. We only care about the ones who actually could benefit, could receive value from our product or service. What are these two elements? Any guesses? No guesses. All right. So step one, super obvious, that they have to know about you, and then they have to like you a little bit. So they have to know about you and they have to like you. Now, super obvious, I get that. But when it comes to our marketing, let me ask you this. Do you have one campaign, or maybe a couple of campaigns, that are designed to do nothing more than to get people, strangers, to know about you and to begin liking you a little bit? Does that campaign exist for you? Or do you have the type of campaign that so many entrepreneurs run, which is kind of the show up and throw up campaign, right? It's show up, let's do this post, let's make the post about the thing, and let's hope that it magically results in a sale for us. So step one is you need to be asking yourself, thinking through, what campaign could I set up that would reach people who don't know about me, my product or service, but would benefit, what would receive value from my product or service? What campaign, what ad could I run that gets them to know about me and to like me? That's it. That is step one. Don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. I'm gonna come back and we're gonna fill this in because there's some subtle nuances in here that you really need to know in order to completely transform the way you do your marketing. So down here, we have customers. The very bottom, customers. This is where money changes hands, right? This is where money changes hands. So it goes from money in their pocket to money in your pocket, if you will, at this point. Now, there's one big element that's missing to convert people who know about you, who like you, into pulling out their wallet and handing you money. Any guesses as to what that thing is? What is the thing that is missing? What is the thing that's required to get people to pull out their wallet and hand you money? They know about you. They like you. What is it? What's this thing that is missing? Any guesses? That's it. That is it. Ernestine, that is it. Trust is the big word. Trust is the key. So, the question then becomes, do you have a campaign? Do you have an ad? Are you intentional about building trust? What are you doing specifically to build trust? If you're taking notes, you got a pen, write this down. People would rather trust a stranger they've never met than to trust you or I as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as marketers. Let me say it again. People would rather trust a stranger they've never met than to trust you or I as business owners, as marketers. Why is that? Why don't they trust us? The reason's simple. They know we have a vested interest. They know that we are jaded. They know that this is our baby. This is the thing that we love. This is the thing that we do, right? They know these things about us. Think about this for a second. If you shop on Amazon, you probably wouldn't go to Amazon and buy a tube of toothpaste without looking at the what? What are you going to look at before you buy that tube of toothpaste on Amazon? Not the price. You're going to look at the reviews. What do other people who you've never met, who could all be crazy, what did they say about this tube of toothpaste? Right? So that's a prime example. Like we are guilty of this. ourselves every single day. Like, we look around and we trust other people way more than we trust the business owners or the ads that we see. So trust is a key component. One of the great ways that you, regardless of your business, regardless of your industry, one of the great ways that you can help bridge this gap, you can create trust, is by using testimonials, using case studies, using other people's words about you, your business, your service. That making sense? Or is everybody still here? Everybody still following along with where we're heading with this? Any questions at this point? Anybody have any questions before we move forward? Because we're about to transition into this whole other area that really no one talks about. No one else talks about what we're about to talk about in much detail. Awesome. All right, so everybody's following along. So let's move beyond this. So let's figure out what's over here. So once money exchanges hands, we, entrepreneurs, marketers, business people, we have this ability or this opportunity to create what we're going to call evangelist. What is an evangelist? What is an evangelist? An evangelist is someone who believes so passionately, they love your product or service so much that they're willing to go tell their friends, they're willing to go tell their families about your products, your services, your businesses. Yes, Ernestine, that's right. Fans, they're our fans. They're the people, some would call those raving fans. That's exactly right. So what do you think is required to move people from ordinary customers who've given us money to evangelists? What is the ingredient that's missing? What is the thing that we must do to ensure they move from here to here? Lots of different words for this. You have to wow them. You have to exceed expectations. You cannot merely meet expectations. If your product or service is only meeting expectations, they're never going to move to here. Never going to move to here. For those of you out there who already have a business, you've been in business for some time, where do your best new customers come from? Where do your best new customers come from? The answer usually is word of mouth or referrals, right? That's where our best customers tend to come from. Word of mouth or referrals. So we know that our best customers typically come from somebody else who went out and was willing to share. They were willing to go share with others about our products or services. And here's the beauty of this. When we have evangelists for our companies, they go tell their friends. They go tell their friends. So the thing that we need to do here, though, to ensure that our evangelists are going and telling their friends, is we have to provide them with tools. We have to provide them with language. We have to help them. We have to give them the resources that makes it easy for them to go share with others. All right? So let me show you something super interesting about this. So everything on the right-hand side, this is all about attracting. This is all about attracting. This is how we attract new people into our business. Everything on this side is about keeping, right? This is where we keep. And another word that I would like to use for keeping is actually converting. We convert them from ordinary customers into evangelists for our brands. So at a high level, if we step back and we just look at this from a very high level, you should be thinking to yourself right now, what campaign or ad do I have that gets strangers to know about and to like me? Number one, do you have that? Does it exist for you? Number two, what campaign or ad do I have that builds trust, that gets these people, not these people, these people, to trust us, to trust our products, to trust our services, to trust that they're going to deliver value? So The final question here is, what are we doing to ensure that we're actually wowing our products or services with our products or services? And one thing that's super interesting is that customer expectations are like an escalator. So if you are providing exceptional service today, let's say that you're including some bonuses or you're including whatever it may be, you're throwing in some extra goodies for the people that are your customers to wow them. If you do that over time, what was once exceptional right up here at the top becomes what? What happens to that thing that was once exceptional if you keep doing that same thing over and over again? It becomes expected over time. So it's our responsibility to ensure that the things that we do here don't become expected, that they truly are unique, they truly are remarkable, they truly do create a wow of an experience. So let me give you a couple other things that you should be thinking about as we move through the natural progression. What should you be doing in each of these stages? Number one, you must be crystal clear on the strangers that you're trying to reach. So let's just say, for example, that you sell organic grass-fed beef. That's what you do. You're a rancher and you sell organic grass-fed beef. Would it make sense for you to run ads, to run campaigns to people who are vegetarian, people who are vegan? Does that make sense for you? No, right? I mean, super obvious. But let's flip that around. For you, where are you wasting money trying to reach people who will never like you, no matter what you say, right? They're not in your market. It's not that you don't have a good product. It's not that you don't have a good service, but because of their beliefs, their values, where they are in their lives, they're never going to like your product or service. And that's okay. But let's not waste our money on these people, right? On the people who won't benefit from our product or service, who won't eventually like it. And this is where with social media we get in trouble so often, is we throw our money at it without much consideration to the specific audiences that we're attempting to reach. Any questions on where we are? Because I want to keep rolling through this because it's so important. When you're in this phase right here, when you're in this transition, so you should have at least one campaign running that does nothing but this. When you are here, what you should be focused on is building this audience. Building the audience. When you get to this point right here, once they know about you and they like you, this is the perfect opportunity for what internet marketers would call lead capture. Is there a way that you can capture their name, their email address? Is there something that you can offer to get that information from them? Because they know about you, right? They like what you're doing. They like your products or services. So if we're going to nurture this relationship of friends, if we're going to slowly build trust or quickly build trust, one note on trust. Depending on your product or service, the amount of trust required to move people from here to here differs. So typically, if you're selling a low cost item, not a lot of trust is required. Typically, the more expensive the product or service, the more trust is required to get them to hand over their money. So just be aware of that. Depending on your business, depending on that one factor, you may need multiple campaigns, or you may need a longer period of time to move people from here to here. So be aware of that. In this phase right here, moving people from here, this is about nurturing. So we want to nurture these relationships to build them up. Over here, this is important. Super important. This, if you do this correctly, this will always result in a story change. This will always result in a story change. Here's what I mean by that. Your product or service, the exchange of money for that thing, right? They're pulling out their wallet, they're handing you money for the thing that you sell. When you exceed expectations, when your product delivers way more value than the dollars they partnered with for that thing, their story changes. So let's use an example of maybe you teach golf lessons, right? You're a golf instructor. So here they pull out their money, they trust you from whatever is taking place. They pull out their wallet, they hand you money. At this point, when they first become a customer, maybe they're play golf hardly ever, but maybe they have a handicap of whatever's a normal handicap, and maybe their goal is to begin shooting closer to par at the course, right? So they go from being a mediocre golfer when they hand you the money to, over time, as they work with you, as they get better and they start shooting closer to par, what happens? Their story changes. Their story changes. They go from being an average golfer to a really good golfer, or from good golfer to a great golfer. And this happens across the board. This happens even with products as simple as a cup of coffee. When we do a great job here, the story changes. So think about it. If you're the type who loves going to coffee shops, I am. Every time we go on a trip, I love to go check out local coffee shops. Those who do it well, the coffee shops who do it well, the coffee shops who are unique, the coffee shops who aren't cookie cutter, the coffee shops who, quote unquote, put love in every cup, whatever thing they do that makes them unique, your story changes as a result of that. What? That experience. It's an experience to go in that coffee shop. It's not about the $2 or $3 cup of coffee, right? It's about the experience. It's about the story. It's about what's taking place. And those are the people that when we change their stories, that is when we create evangelists. So important. It doesn't matter your product. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter your product, your service. You have the ability to change their story with your product or service. But the question becomes, have you thought about that? Have you thought about the ways that you actually change their stories? Have you thought about the way that you can engineer certain things to help change their stories? So let me ask you an important question. When we look at this chart and we look at the natural progression, and you think about your marketing budget, it doesn't matter if your budget is $50 a month, $500 a month, $5,000, it doesn't matter. What percent of your budget is going to this side, to attracting side? And what percent is going to the keeping side? Put in the comment, what percent of your marketing budget is going to the attraction side? So is it 50%? Is it 80%? What is going to the attracting side? How much of your budget are you spending trying to attract new people? %65%, okay, is going to attracting. Haven't started yet. Here's what I would say. So the answer's coming in. So here's what I would say. Whatever you're spending here, this is where most people spend their money. Usually when I ask this question, it's 95% of the money gets spent here. It doesn't matter the percent. I want to challenge you to begin allocating more money over here. More money to creating these things called evangelists. Here's why. We live in a world where 6.4 billion people have access to one of these things. It's in their pocket usually, it's in their purse, it's in their bag. They carry this little device around, and with this one little device, they have the ability to share their experience with your product or service with who? With certainly their friends, right, that follow them on social or wherever it may be, but hypothetically with the world. When they publish something on social media, when they publish the review on Yelp or the review on Amazon, wherever it may be, they are sharing with the world the experience that you created, the story change that you will create for them. Is that making sense? Let me jump back over here to the slides real quick. So number one, you have to be crystal clear about who these people are. Remember we talked about earlier, if you're the rancher, it doesn't do you any good to target the people who are vegan or who are vegetarian, right? It doesn't make sense. And yet, if we're not clear about who we are attempting to serve, it's not going to matter. We have to be clear. So some of the questions are, what are their goals? What are their values? What TV shows do they watch? What books do they read? What magazines are they looking at? Are they attending certain conferences? Who do they follow? What gurus do they maybe follow? What is their age? So you can see all the questions here. What are the challenges? What are the pain points? What are their objections to the thing, to buying the thing that you sell? What is their role in that process? In other words, are they the sole decision maker? Do they go back to other people to make the decision? What is their role in the process? This exercise, if you do this exercise has the power to transform all of this for you. Because when we can clearly speak and directly speak to the needs, the wants, the desires of those people out there that we're attempting to serve, it changes everything, right? It's the difference between speaking at someone and speaking to someone. That's the difference. And that's why this exercise, I'm going to give you access to this. I'm going to tell you in just a minute how to get access to this customer avatar exercise in just a minute. The other thing that we need to do is we need to do a customer expectation litmus test. You see, most entrepreneurs, if you ask them, they believe that they're providing remarkable service. They're exceeding expectations. But that is often not the case. Bain & Company, a big research consultancy, they did this study where they went around and they surveyed 4,000 businesses across the United States. And they asked them, on a scale of 1 to 5, what level of service do you provide? Number 5 is exceptional. Number 4 is great. Number 3 is good. Number 4 is average, and then terrible, right? So it's the scale of 1 to 5. 80% of the businesses that they surveyed said we provide the highest level. We provide exceptional service. 80%. And if I were to survey each of you right now, probably 80% of you would agree with that. Like you feel like you provided excellent or exceptional service. Well, Bain & Company says, that seems really high. Let's now go back and actually ask the customers of these companies, of these businesses, what they think. Do they agree or do they not? And so Bain & Company goes back and they survey the customers of these 4,000 businesses, and they say, we know you do business with this particular company. Using the same scale, how do you rate their service? Anybody want to guess what the customer said? What percent of the customers actually believe that they provide exceptional service? It's way lower than you probably think. When they surveyed the actual customers, only 8% said that those businesses provide exceptional service. So sometimes we are delusional, right? We're delusional about the level of service that we provide. Why? Because this is our baby. This is our thing. Like, I don't want to believe that we at Ugly Mug Marketing provide mediocre service or that we don't exceed expectations, right? This is my baby. Like, I want to believe the best. But it's important that we have a litmus test to actually figure this out. So this is what we call the customer expectation litmus test. And so what you're going to do is you're going to just simply go down the sheet of paper And you are going to write down all the points of interaction that customers, prospects have with your business. So let me give you a couple of examples. Number one, when your phone rings, that's a point of interaction. How many times do they expect your phone to ring before you respond or before you answer? Right? So maybe they expect you to answer the phone in 3 rings. So what would it actually look like then if we don't meet those expectations? Well, if we let it ring more than 3 times, we do not meet those expectations. So the answer is 4 or more rings does not meet expectations. What does it look like to exceed those expectations? Well, if they expect 3 rings, but we answer it in 2 or less, we're exceeding those expectations. What's the next point of interaction? Well, maybe they submit a form on your website, or maybe they add something to their cart, or maybe they check out, whatever it is, you'll list all the points of interaction. And then you ask yourself, what does a reasonable customer have the right to expect at this point of interaction? What does a reasonable customer have the right to expect? And then how do we know if we're exceeding that? How do we know if we're not exceeding that? You see, when you go through and you create this list, you also create a checklist for those who may be doing customer service for you at some point, or for those who are filling orders, or those who are interacting with customers day in and day out. So I would challenge you to spend some time. I'm going to give you the sheet so you can go through and actually walk through this for yourself. So I already asked you where your marketing budget is going. I would challenge you to spend more on the keeping side, devote more of your marketing budget to the keeping side. Over time, you'll continually grow that as you build an army of evangelists for you. This is what happens. So I'm going to show you these next few slides. It's going to seem like I'm bragging. And yes, I'm very proud of these next few slides, but I'm showing you these to make a point. I want you to see the power of shifting your mind to creating an evangelist for your company. So this is Chris Voss. He wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. You may have heard of the book. Chris came to us right before his book launch for marketing help. How did Chris come to us? It wasn't because of some clever Facebook ad or some clever email campaign or any of this stuff. Chris came to us because of an evangelist who'd worked with us, who believed in us so much that he told Chris to call us. This is Greg Mcewen, the author of Essentialism, the author of his newest book, Effortless. Before Effortless was launched, he came to us. We helped him launch that book, landed on the New York Times bestseller list. Where did Greg come from? Again, not over here. It came from this side. Neil Patel, some of you may be familiar with him, internet marketer. Again, where did Neil come from? There's no creative ad that we could run to attract these types of people. Now, our business is obviously different. Your business, you may be selling coffee, but the principle still applies. And then this is the last one. This one's pretty interesting. So Michael Jackson, we actually didn't work with Michael when he was alive. We worked with his estate after his passing. So some of you may remember a few years back, a documentary came out that was very negative around Michael Jackson. We were contacted by the estate to help with some things behind the scenes during that process. How did that happen? Again, no amount of creativity over here is going to lead to these types of interactions. You can do the same thing. You have the power to do the exact same thing. So as we conclude, I want to walk you through something really quick to kind of drive the point home. Okay, I want to drive this home for you, and then I'm going to tell you how to get all of these resources I've got together for you. So welcome to the team. You and I, we're now in business together, and our business is to build the world's greatest car. We want to build the best car in the world. So what are we going to do? We are going to go out there and we're going to say, the Volvo has the best frame of any car out there. It's the safest, it's the strongest, it's the most secure. So we're going to use the frame from the Volvo. And then we say, this is the Rolls-Royce. The Rolls-Royce cabin is the quietest. You can't hear any of the road noise, any of the wind noise. So we're going to take the cabin from the Rolls-Royce. We're going to put it on the Volvo frame. And then we look and we say, engines are important. Lamborghini's got a great, strong, powerful V12 engine. We're going to put that Lamborghini engine in our car. So now we've got the Volvo frame, we've got the Rolls-Royce cabin, if you will, we've got the Lamborghini engine, and you know what? BMW, great, great, great transmission, phenomenal, super smooth. You never even know your car's changing gears. We're gonna put the BMW transmission. And then finally, the interior. Like, how are we actually gonna design the interior? Well, Mercedes, right? We're gonna take the Mercedes interior, we're gonna put it inside of that Rolls-Royce cabin, and we're gonna have what? Are we gonna have the world's greatest car? No, we're gonna have this awful thing that doesn't work, right? We're gonna have all these beautiful, amazing pieces that don't produce the car that we're after. And that is exactly what so many of us are doing with our marketing. We look around the landscape, we look at our competitors, we look at the gurus, right? On social media, we see what they're doing, we grab the best of what they're doing. We throw it into our marketing bag, and then we shake up our bag and hope that something beautiful comes out of it. And what happens? We are left with a Frankenstein. We have neglected some of the most fundamental things when it comes to marketing. We have begun looking around at comparisons for our marketing instead of being strategic, instead of following a framework, instead of following a strategy for our marketing. So extremely important that we get out of this comparison trap as marketers. We stop looking around and taking bits and pieces from other people. And instead, we stay intentional on laying the tracks, laying our framework where we want to end up, choosing the right strategy, putting that strategy on those tracks, right? And then the tactics, the things that we're doing to operate that train. That is how we're going to succeed. So again, this is a super quick recap. I'm not going to walk back through this because I know we're out of time. I'm going to give you this. This will be part of the materials. That if you want these, you can have these materials. Again, attracting versus keeping. We want to ensure that we're spending ample time, ample budget on the keeping side as well. And this is kind of how I'll conclude. And again, I'm happy to answer your questions, but consistency creates miracles. So be consistent in thinking strategic about your marketing. Schedule time on your calendar. Not to go do the campaign, not to go create the campaign. Like, you're going to do that anyway. Schedule time to think about, where are these tracks leading? Where am I trying to get to with my marketing? What is the purpose? What is the point? Where is this going? And then what strategies do I need in place to get there? This framework, though, gives you step by step. So if you want to know what campaigns, you need a campaign to get people to know about you, to like you. You need a campaign to build trust. Then you need to be sure that you have a campaign that turns ordinary customers into evangelists. Once you have the evangelist, make sure you're giving them the tools that they can use, that they can share. So that concludes what I've got for you today. I'm happy to answer any questions you've got. If you want these free resources, simply put a comment, leave a comment that says, send me the resources. And then what we will do is we will actually just message you a link where you can go to get these resources. So just leave a comment that says, send me the resources. We will send you a link where you can go and get all of these resources. Again, there's some things in here that I didn't even have time to cover today in terms of the resources that I'm going to send you. There's this one word that I believe is kind of, if there is such thing as a magic word in marketing, there's this one word that I believe to be the magic word. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's in this stuff, right? It's in the stuff that I'm going to send you. It's so important, particularly in the world that we live in today, in this world of confusion, in this world where there's so much going on. How do we actually get our messages to stand out? How do we build a following? With this one word, it has the power to transform all of that. It has the power to take our message and literally just make it completely stand out, to completely differentiate us from our competitors, from everyone else in the marketplace. Any questions? I know we're right at time, so if you got to run, feel free to run. If you have a question, glad to answer your questions. Any questions? Did the natural progression make sense? Were you able to understand how you can actually take this back and apply it? Does that make sense for you? You're welcome, Morgan. Thanks for being here. Just gonna look back through the comments real quick, make sure I got them all. Let's see. Any questions on platforms, on ads, on anything else? Give you just another minute. If you got a question, type it in. All right. Not seeing any other questions. So again, thank you for investing this time today. Thank you for being here, for being present, for engaging. Again, kind of as I started today, remember there's nothing here that I've shared with you that is going to change your business unless you do something with it. So schedule a little bit of time today. Go do something with what you've learned today. Go make a change to your advertising. Go make a change to your campaign. Or this may be the most important thing you do. Go back. Look at where you're going. Look at the framework that's being laid out for you. Where's it going? Is it going where you want to go? If not, draw new tracks, right? We aren't trees, if you will, right? We can actually get up and we can move things. We can change things. We have the ability to do that. You can change where your tracks are pointing. You have permission to do that. You have the ability to do that. Go do that. Do it for yourself. Do it for your future. And I can promise you, if you do, all of your marketing will get infinitely easier. Again, thanks so much for being here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We will see you next time.